listening to Femme podcast with Tessa Markle
and Carolina Alvarez.
Femme. So welcome back, listeners. We are going to talk to you this episode about distribution. So Carolina and I have gone to a lot of panels and classes and talked to a lot of people to try to understand distribution. It is very complicated. There's a lot to it.
And there's no right or wrong.
Yeah, there's no rule book for it.
There isn't. But I do think from all the sessions that we've gone to that starting out, there is a road where you can, a smarter road to take than to just, feel like you can sell yourself short or not even give distribution companies or sales agents the time of day because you are so entitled to your film, which you just need I suggest knocking that out.
Yeah. A big lesson we've learned is your film is your baby. We get it. You want people to watch it. And that's important for your marketing and all that, but once it's in the can, once you've sold it or put it out self-distribution, however you do it, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you got to let it go. It's business time. It's, you can't be, that can't be your baby forever.
And if you care so much to have people, you want people to watch it, then that's where distribution comes in.
Yes.
So understanding that, I have notes from an Anne-Marie Gillen, who produces and offers consulting services for a wide range of film and television projects under her own company, the Gillen Group. So they give you, get more established and want consulting, feel free to check out her website. But she said something along the lines of that 50% of film is marketing and distribution. So that's huge. That is what we call half.
50%. In the film world, we call that half.
Might not that's the whole thing. If you're wait, that's my whole film budget. 50%. Are you kidding me?
And that's something you need to think about when you were building your budget from the very beginning. You think, okay, it's going to take this many $1,000s to make the film. Okay, I want to name talent, so they're going to cost this many $1,000. Post is probably going to take this many $1,000. Okay, you're already spending tens of thousands, but you haven't even thought about marketing or distribution,
right.
What you have to pay a sales agent or whatever route you go. And all of a sudden you're out of money. You have a finished film and you have nowhere to put it because you can't afford to do anything with it. So that's something that's really, really important to think of ahead of time when you're doing your budget.
Yeah, just assign a segment, a lot of fund right from the get-go. So then you don't freak out about it when it's all said and done and you don't know where to pull resources from.
Yeah. You're always going to end up spending a little more than you want to. We've learned that with our little simple short films.
Because I think they say post-production should be 20%, 25%. That's so then where's the small 10, 20%, 30% left of your film goes to actually making it, which is another huge chunk of money. So it's a lot to think of, especially in our film festival segment where, you're spending kind of the pre-pitching stages into trying to get a distribution company and all the marketing and publicity that goes into it. And, that doesn't even stop right when you do get a sale. If you want to keep your film making money, you still got to keep that going. So it's a huge cost and expense. But again, if you're in it for the business and to actually have a lifelong career. And
even, if it's for you, it's not about the money, but you want people to see your movie. Okay, well, how are they going to see your movie if you don't get it out there? If you get in a few festivals or whatever, that's great. There's going to be people there at the festivals. Hopefully some of them are important that see your movie. But that's, one weekend in Utah or something. You need to get that stuff on the shelves of Walmart or streaming online or whatever, So whether you're in it for the money, the views, whatever the case is, you still need to get it out there. And you need to do that through distribution.
And so just an interesting note, there are three main categories of film. There's the studio produced, which is 20%. Indies are 80%. And a subset of indies are art house. Sorry. Oh my God. And which is actually quite a big segment right there. And for indies, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it's just knowing, I guess, which category your film fits. You can approach different market or like distribution centers or sales, because
if your movie's a studio produced movie, if you're lucky enough to get a big time deal like that, they're gonna have their own distribution. You almost don't even have to worry about that. I mean, pay attention to what's going on. You don't want to get screwed over in a contract, but it's not something you have to be in charge of.
But then they take control.
Absolutely.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
So when you're going with a big studio, then it's like hands off.
Yeah. So you're indie, you have the control, but you also then have to put in all the work. And something just to note, like, what is an art house movie? I won't get into it a lot, but that term is kind of thrown around a lot. Usually it kind of just is a non-commercial movie. So, it's something that maybe you're going to go see at a specifically art house cinema, or you're just going to see in the festivals. It's something that you're not going to find on the shelves of Walmart, for instance. But that being said, a lot of streaming services, even, big old Netflix nowadays, are picking up art house movies so that the public can see them, so that they have something different to show. So, that's just kind of tells you what the term is, but it's a loose definition now.
Changing.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's why it's like the art house film can become the mainstream thing. It just, it depends on what's trending, which is always changing. But you can still know kind of where your film lies and how to market it, because if you don't know what you're selling, no one's going to buy it, kind of thing.
Totally.
So
knowing that too, like talking about where your film fits. I mean, it's pretty obvious if you got a big studio or not, but labeling your movie is a big thing when you're pitching to the distribution companies, or even to your sales agent. If you're looking for a sales agent, they have to agree to to sell your movie too, whoever you're pitching to. And some things to focus on when you're doing that. Big things are genre, star names, and comparison to other successful movies. Because like genre, for instance, say you have a movie about a murderer. Let's make it that simple. That could fit into horror, suspense, psychological suspense versus, serial kill.
Detective.
Yeah, totally.
You can twist it, and chances are your film, when the DC picks it up, they are probably going to use two different angles, depending, because foreign film markets are going to want another thing if you're going to go that route as well, which is awesome, because why not, get all the different markets you can possibly get. And then that kind of falls in along the lines of getting a successful, all the successful tools like trailers, movie posters, so that way they can angle it. So along with the movie genre, there's also star names that helps with a good pitch.
Yeah, it's a bit you don't have to have star names in your movies, and that's also becoming more of a thing now, that less and less they're focusing on that. But at the same time, that's an instant seller, especially if you have a big star. Most of us can't afford that.
Do well.
But
yeah, that do well. And or now the social media
influencers. Yep, they're stars nowadays.
And so but it's basically having that. So all they're looking for with the star name quality, that means they have that much audience already tapped into their network and who they are and following. So they already know. That's why it's a big deal. It's because they know they already have this many audience members already tuned in, ready to buy that ticket or that movie right when it goes out. So if you got to think along the lines of that.
Some other things, like once, speaking of lists of things you got to prep, once you have sold it to the distribution company or the sales agent, whatever level you're at that point, your distributor is going to need some things from you that you got to be prepared with, such as press coverage, interviews, critic quotes, awards info, all that stuff. The more you have, the better you're going to look, of course. If you have been to festivals and you can put those laurels out there, that's a big thing. Any press coverage you have. Yeah. Get interviews from people, contact companies, Variety Entertainment, whatever, that they can write a review about it or write just an article about you creating it, whatever you can do to get that film's name out there. That's definitely going to help you and going to help your distributor.
Yeah. Getting it on print and you just hop on as many different outlets as you can, because then that and have it all then condensed somewhere where you can hand it over to your pitch deck, all on a thumb drive. Like, there you go.
Yeah.
This is everything.
If you're prepared with everything you need ahead of time, you can go to that sales agent, pitch it to them. They're going to want to buy it. Then they can take care of everything to the distributor. So you've given them everything you can, and they're going to take care of the rest to find that distributor. And then
that's all you need to worry about.
Yeah, it's kind of out of your hands there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're going to have a lovely guest next episode, Miss Alexandra Boylan, who really gave us so many helpful tips.
Yes.
And the 3 big tips that she'll definitely bring up too, the necessities to a successful distribution, is the poster, the trailer, and the finished film itself. Which,
sounds like common sense, like you should have your film done. But I mean, I get it. Some films are in post forever and people want to start the work early and, but they can't.
Nowadays,
the distributors can't picture an unfinished film. That they're going to see the unfinished work and that's what they're going to see. They're not going to picture it the way you want it to be, no matter how much you explain it to them.
They're not I mean, okay, that's maybe not all of them, but they're in it again for the money. That's why they're in the distribution business. They want to see numbers, and so they're not going to spend time trying to imagine how great. And you know what? It could be amazing. Like, I've started just editing some things, and once I add music, the sound that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, oh my God, this thing's amazing now.
It takes it from like that movie you make in your backyard with like someone's really good camera that you got to borrow to like, oh, hey, this could end up at least in a festival.
Yeah. So, and even with festivals, like, if you're trying to pitch there, and again, we'll probably touch on our festival segment, but just have it done. You just can't do it nowadays without having it fully finished.
Come prepared for the distributor. And, okay, if you're thinking, well, I don't know if I want to hand it all over to a distributor, self-distribution is an option. It's, they've all got their pros and cons, it seems like, and the market's constantly changing. So, you have to think, do you want your film to make more money, or do you want to see more of that money? Because generally I feel like that's kind of the big difference of the two. A distribution company is going to get your film out there to more people. They're going to take care of a lot more marketing and stuff. Like, more people are going to see your film. Right. It's probably going to make more money. But self-distribution, you're not paying the sales agent and the distribution company. And you're seeing all of the money straight back to you.
And that being said, I feel like this is where the road to the underdeveloped independent filmmaker can make that choice. And I think this, what I would advise is probably trying to see if you can get that help with the marketing and getting a good sales agent from maybe your first film, because then you have all of that to back you up to the next one, which maybe at that point you could try self-distributing, or just because you have that ground, you have already that success of having it out there on Netflix or bought by Amazon or whatever the deal is. But unless you got strings you can pull yourself, it might be nice, even if you won't see a lot of that money back at the beginning. Think of it as an investment for you to go on to the next thing and be like secure, like, oh, and now I can go to investors and be like, well, our first film did really good. It landed here and here, versus, I got this much money back from it. Like, they don't care that you got paid. They want to know it's sold. And again, it does say if you got paid, it did make money, but on what scale, on what platform did it land on? Because that matters more.
Yeah, it makes them more confident too. It even makes investors for your future movies more like everybody that's that you're pitching your stuff to in the future, to see that it's not just a bunch of your friends and family that rented the movie on iTunes because you put it up there,
Like shaking his head, no. The horror. Yeah, no, we that's great if your grandma loves your film. Everyone, that's nice. But, again, we're just trying to help you guys out. Like, just don't, it's your first film. Don't think you're going to get like your big $1 million to walk out the door, and like, you just be humble. Great. but you want to do it so you can make your next film. Because if that's what your goal is, to be the longevity, to have that long end game plan, you gotta think that way and just be like, okay, what's going to drive me to the next and get me the next funding. And yeah, I mean, this business, it takes time to get that money back, but eventually you do. Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, I mean, any money you make back is something, and it can go into your next film,
your next distribution portion.
Yes,
50%, y'all. Remember, 50%.
So along the lines of, not making much money in this business, to stay inspired. Every week, we talk about our inspiration, something that inspired us this week.
Girl, it's your week.
It's my week.
Okay, I'm excited. What is it?
So for anyone that doesn't know me personally, I'm obsessed with Lord of the Rings. I have been since I was like 10 years old.
Girl is tatted up, yo.
I do have the Tree of Gondor tattooed on my back. No big deal. But I am taking a trip to New Zealand this year. I'm super excited, going to Land of the Lord of the Rings. So I've been rereading the books, rewatching the movies, and watching all the special features on the movies. And it's so interesting to be in the industry now and like understand how those things work, to really see what they did and how revolutionary it was. And one thing that really stuck with me is like, it was kind of a low budget Hollywood film. I mean, now I'm not talking ultra low. I'm not talking low budget like you think low budget, but for a big Hollywood studio film and for all the special effects and everything that you see that they put into it.
Yeah.
I want to say the budget was like 93 million or something like that. And like a standard Hollywood budget is about 100 million. And that's not talking about like crazy special effects and all the stuff that they did. So it's
that's
kind
insane. They had like 1 million little goblins, right?
I mean, the stuff they did was
I saw some behind the scenes. Like it was intense. Like all the little jewels and the scenery. They built all the sets.
Yeah, I mean, they built everything to detail. All the costumes are handmade. The weapons are handmade.
That's insane.
It's absolutely insane what they put into it. And like the technology, the CGI and stuff like that. Like it was revolutionary for the time. I mean, they were developing programs to do things. I mean, that was like kind of the start of mocap. It was very new at that point, which, Andy Serkis is like the king of now. He played Gollum. But it was such a revolutionary movie, and it was amazing that they were able to do what they did on that kind of budget and in the time frame that they did. I mean, it only really took them like a few years to do the filming of it,
Right. Only.
Yeah, well,
it is an epic story and film for sure.
But I think,
that's insane.
The reason they even pulled all of that off was because, well, they had a great story to work off of that they all loved. A lot of them were Tolkien fans ahead of time. A lot of them were just like so excited to be immersed in that world. And on top of that, like just coming together for this movie, they all had a passion for it, even if they never read the books before, and it brought together so many people from New Zealand that were getting to do things that were their craft that they hardly ever get to do, especially for movies. Like some of these weapon makers and stuff, like that's what they do. They're blacksmiths, and they never got to do like cool swords like this. And, so it's awesome.
That is cool.
It really shows that it's important to have a good team that is supporting your project and coming together and working as a team, because that's how you get that done,
And I just interject a thought that spurred, like, I'm a huge, I want a good story. You can have special effects all day. And now that I'm in the editing world, I do appreciate all of that. And I think there's definitely an artistry, but it kind of falls flat for me every time where I see craziness and it looks amazing. But at the same time, I'm not emotionally invested or connected to it so I feel like even though it was quote unquote low budget, and for maybe just because that they were breaking into new grounds, it's just that the story at the end of the day, it was, and like you said, they all had the passion for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's just what makes it even more magical without needing all the other extra crazy stuff, which it was already insane. Like the special effects were insane. So
Yeah.
That was just my 2 cents on that.
Totally. So if you guys haven't seen the movies, go watch them. I recommend them. But anyway, that's the end of our episode for today. And just a reminder, you can follow us on Instagram at Femme Regard and Twitter at Femme_regard. And
hit us in the DM.
Yes, please. We want to hear your opinions on things. And we're excited for our next episode to introduce you to Alexandra and to teach you a little more about distribution.
Yeah, she's so cool. You guys will like her.
Thanks for listening to Femme Regard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in next time for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals over tea.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. If you leave us a great comment, we might give you a shout out on the show. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.